Well, here we are with another Midweek in the Word.
Yes.
It's good to be together. Did a teeth check right before. I don't mind saying that, right? And this might be the most casual I've ever been on a Midweek in the Word.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And why are you?
It's 3 o'clock when we're recording this. I don't know what time it is when you're watching it, but it's 3 o'clock. I have a cuckoo clock in my office.
Yes.
And
which was, can we speak over the cuckoo clock? Can it hear? Can the people hear?
Yeah, because it's a mic on us. Yeah.
Okay,
so
good.
We're fine. When you said speak over, that sounded charismatic.
It did sound charismatic.
No,
it's going to sound charismatic what I'm about to say. So the cuckoo
brace
clock
yourself.
was an answer to prayer, evidently. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Chase, as a little boy, was obsessed with cuckoo clocks. Like at 2 years old, he knew the parts of a functioning cuckoo clock.
Yeah.
His grandparents took him into some novelty store that made clocks at the beach. And he was pointing out everything and saying all these words. And, he's your son, so the charm won. And they sent him home with a tiny little cuckoo clock candle.
Little ceramic one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So as he got a little older, he still loved them. Wished he could have a cuckoo clock, prayed about one. I use that as an illustration in a women's group about sometimes you don't get what you pray for because it's not practical.
Right.
You don't need it. And within a few weeks, a lady came to me and said, I have something for you. Before she even said it, I audaciously said, I think I know what it is. And it was a cuckoo clock.
Great faith.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's a great reminder. I love that it's in your office.
And I love it. We keep it running. And it's pretty much on time. It varies within a minute or so, but it's pretty much on time. It's a great reminder, of just fun and a little whimsy in here. It's nice. We are approaching the end of June.
Yeah.
My goodness.
End of books of the Bible.
End of Joshua. We wrapped that this week, transitioned into Judges. I think you and I both are sharing from Joshua in this time together. And I just want to give a quick shout out to the Mission Bible Church family. We pivoted quickly on Sunday. They were meeting for kind of a worship time with Brother Daniel, who was leading the team, just getting to know everybody. And I had to come back home for something. And I just said, Mark, make the decision. And when I came back, not only had the decision been made, I was only gone 42 minutes. When I got back, the decision had been made, and y'all were completely set up in Jones Hall.
Ready to go.
There were AC issues in the sanctuary, and we love that sanctuary, but we do not love that sanctuary at 84 degrees.
But it provided such a great opportunity to have intimate fellowship in a different location.
It did.
And I think we're going to find a different rhythm, and it'll be good for
I talked to a church family that was in there for 9 months, another church plant that had used that location, and he was so excited for us. Oh, you're going to love it. And here's what you need to do. He was so awesome. So I'm super grateful for that. Hey, let's dive into God's Word. Joshua, I'm in 23. I think you are as well.
24.
Yes? Oh, you're in 24,
yeah.
Oh,
so
the great
close.
final... the appeal from Joshua, where he goes back and forth with the people, is awesome. In Joshua 23:11, we come to this kind of list of commands here. Joshua's given him some instruction. He's saying the Lord's done all this stuff before you. One man of you puts to flight 1,000. Heard that misquoted a lot. Since it is the Lord your God who fights for you, just as he promised you. He's giving them all this build up. And then in verse 11, he says, be careful, therefore, you think obey, you think walk in victory, you think be strong and courageous is coming. He says, be careful therefore, Joshua 23:11, to love the Lord your God. And then the next thing says, for if you turn back and cling to the remnant of those nations remaining among you, and it goes on and said, just you're setting yourself up to be against the Lord. I wrote that down. Be careful therefore to love the Lord your God. Joshua's giving his final address. There's the explanation, and his calling to the people. And he's calling them to deep affection toward God. So as they press into the Word of God and they run from pagans, if you look at the instruction he's given, he's basically saying, lean into God's Word, avoid pagans. And then he says, be careful to love the Lord. This is more than discipline. It's more than just an action. The call here is for a deep, abiding affection. My application, I said, pursuit, passion, and purpose are all great things when they're in the Master's hands, but God is calling his people to cultivate a deep love for him. Old Testament and New Testament, the Shema, Jesus repeated as the great commandment. Remember, therefore you should love the Lord your God. Love the Lord your God. Not serve the Lord, not obey the Lord, although all those are tied up in it.
Yeah.
Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Lord, above all else in life and ministry, and I love life.
Yes, I see.
And I love ministry. I really do. And I love my family. Lord, above all that, help me to cultivate a deep and abiding love for you that's just far above that. So how do we cultivate a love for God? How do you cultivate a love for God?
Well, it's a discipline for sure, but it's that whole, where were we when we heard to go after the things you crave, and then you'll crave the things you're after, sort of thing. So
we're at that refresh
yes,
retreat. Yeah,
that's right, at the refresh retreat. You know, when I make the effort to spend time with the Lord and I see the fruit from that and the joy in that, it, you know, and I remember how great those moments are, it should make it natural. It should make it easier for me to want to lean into that more and more. So, you know, those times that I wake up early, instead of, you know, fussing and moaning about it, getting up, having that quiet time,
redeeming the time,
going for a walk, and not listening just to another podcast that would get me worked up and aggravated about something, or even, you know, it doesn't even have to be those sorts of things, but something that just kind of sets my tone and my mood, and helps me be more observant.
That's good.
Over, you know, creation, over times of praying for other people. Yeah. And, you know, one of the most lovely things God created is people, right? That's the
true.
epitome of it. And so making time to spend with other people and listen to them, that's something I've had to really work hard as an introvert. Introverts sometimes are good listeners, but not always. But trying to cultivate, you know, if I'm an introvert and I'm listening, I also need to share and be present.
Right.
And that, you've been with me on that journey to where I've tried to make that more natural, to talk to the server at the restaurant, which I normally would just say thank you.
Yeah.
You know.
I heard John Piper say recently about parents praying for kids in missions, and it ties into this, where he said, we used to say, just lay that will on the altar, like it's a joy for God to call you to a hard place. And he's saying, his point was, why don't you instead pray, God, give me a new heart? Like, just totally make my heart like Jesus's heart, so it is a joy. I don't have to work up that it's a joy, or say, Lord, change my will. No, give me a new will. Give me your will. I love that. Here's the thing. Lord, make my heart. Just continue to make me new. That'll cultivate a love. The more time I spend in the Lord's presence, the more I will love him, because Jesus is making me new. You cannot love him apart from a living relationship with Jesus.
Yeah, and don't push back on the things that are for your sanctification. Yes, we can pray, Lord, make me new, do all these things, but it's not this mystical
it's not
moment necessarily.
It's usually hardship
it's
that
hard
brings
work.
that about.
And so our sanctification comes from parenting, or being a homeschool mom, or just a myriad of things.
Singleness.
Those are, but for me, that, you know, those are some examples for me. Caring for your parents, or just so many different things, or waking up early when you don't want to wake up early, or something.
Right.
And the Lord uses those things to cultivate us into his image. And a lot of times I think we just complain about all that, and we don't realize that the thing that we're praying for, God is giving to us. It just doesn't look like this mystical.
It's not a pill we take.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something we go through.
Yeah.
So you were in Joshua 24.
Yes, I was in Joshua 24. You know, most of us are familiar with the passage, or we have it. I think we actually do have this hanging on our door. As for me in my house. Erilyn, even when she read that verse today, she said, Nana had that for the longest time. I think they still have that at their house. So, you know, it's a verse that most of us could go to Hobby Lobby right now, or Christian bookstore, and find something in that. But there's so much there in that passage, and I was looking at 19 through 21, so we know the setup, right? That he's like, you need to stick with God, you need to be with him, and he's like drawing a line in the sand and says, which God are you going to choose, you know? And they're just kind of aggravated. They're like, we're gonna obey, we're going to do what you've told us, and we've been so faithful, and all these things. And he says, no, you won't, actually.
Because he'd been with them.
Yeah, and he says, and they're like, no, but we will, And I really appreciated the notes in my ESV Bible that said, they just so casually said yes or no, we won't go the wrong way. It wasn't yes, we will. It was a no, we won't. And they say that, but they don't ask, because clearly Joshua can see something that they're blind to. Mm-hmm. And even though he's been a great leader, he can see some things that they're blind to. And the note said, shouldn't they have maybe used this as an opportunity to ask him to pray for them, or have a communal prayer, or even to ask for further instructions, which I'm sure he had already given them plenty of instructions. It's like talking to a kid. You don't want to hear any more instructions. But Joshua could see trouble on the horizon, and you flip the page and you go to Judges and you just start seeing this spiral already in chapter 1. Everywhere they go with these inhabitants, they can't push them out, or they just settle, or they don't want to fight about it, and they just kind of allow some things to encroach upon what God had promised. God promises things and he brings us to places, but there's still work to be done. Right. A lot of times on our part. Mm-hmm. And, the water can get mucky. And we'll see that by next week for sure. So my application was, when there's a leader in my life, a godly leader, or a family member that's godly, that I know loves me and is concerned about me, if they're questioning, maybe I should find out why they're questioning. Mm-hmm. They may be totally off. But like we saw that with the Israelites and that big altar. Right.
This
they
week,
were wrong.
That's right.
In their assessment.
But it was still right to entertain and listen.
But at least they were concerned.
That's right.
Right? And so just keeping that line of communication open and being teachable. And, I just ask the Lord to help me heed good counsel. Yes. And be willing to admit when I don't know something, or, they've been down the path a little longer and they can see my behavior and say, this may not be the best for you. So.
It's true. Sometimes we just get so mission driven or task driven, we can miss being teachable in a moment. And even, I love what you said, even if they've missed it, like even if they're seat, but the angle that they're looking at, they don't have the whole picture, and they're thinking, oh, this might be a danger, and it actually isn't. Right. It's still good to hear it and to just lean in and thank them for their love and concern. Good stuff. Hey, just in the few quick moments we have left in our time together, this is the last Sunday of the month. There's something we try to do the last Sunday of every month. What's that?
So this year we've been focusing on Love Life, and as a way to continually partner with them, we ask you guys to bring just whatever you can for a baby, for a mom who has chosen life for her child. Diapers, clothing,
we have that list
rattles.
Online.
Yeah, there's a list online if you need it. There's so many things. They don't have to be brand new, and you don't have to bring something every month. Right. Some months you're going to find a great deal on something. Other months you don't, or you have things you come up for yourself. Right. The Lord needs to minister to you and your needs in that moment. But this is a week that we can do that. It's right on the front end of our Love Life week that we're adopting.
Yeah, we're partnering with King's Church. Yes. And so Sunday is our kickoff Sunday for Love Life, where we'll share the need. Many of you, Mission Bible family, probably have heard that before in context of us being together, but some of you haven't, so we're going to talk a little bit about Love Life and just what it is, what it isn't, what our week will look like. There's a call to prayer midweek Wednesday, where we'll fast and pray, and it's guided prayer. And then next Saturday, we will show up at what Flip Benham is often described as the closest thing to the gates of hell on this side of eternity, which is the largest abortion mill in the Southeast on Latrobe Drive, where we will not protest or scream or yell or do anything like that. We will be crying out to God and just praying and asking God to intervene, to change minds and hearts. Here's what happens when the church shows up in numbers. The abortion numbers go down. Yeah. That's statistically
Wednesdays
true.
Are often a big day where they'll report, when the church is praying intently together, unified. So, it's a great opportunity for churches all across the city and now all across the nation.
Right. Love Life's popping up everywhere. So we're very grateful for that. So it's not just us in King's Church. There'll be another church participating as well. I don't know who that is yet, but it'll be a great time for us to do kingdom work and to stand for life.
For the whole family.
For the whole family. Kids can come, and you can talk to us about that if you want to, but our kids go every time. We have prayer time, an extended prayer time toward the back end of the service as well this week. So we're looking forward. Sunday's going to be a special Sunday, and we're meeting in Jones Hall. So you'll drive around that back part of the parking lot and walk a little bit to Jones Hall, so we can be in a nice, intimate and cooled space
and comfortable.
And yeah, it's really was special this
and
past
really
week.
well designed for fellowship afterwards.
Very much so. It took us just a minute to get a table or two out, and we enjoyed some time together. God bless you. Thank you so much for being a part of our Midweek in the Word, and we'll see you Sunday at Mission Bible.